And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week.
And across Washington, D.C. and throughout the country, the reverberations from DOGE continue. You know, there was a book put out some time ago, I always got a kick out of it, by the American Management Association. I think it was titled something like, "It's Okay to Ask Them to Work." What a novel concept. But when the federal government comes in the form of DOGE and all of a sudden requires bureaucrats who maybe weren't always doing that to simply show their performance, you'd think that World War III had erupted. I mean, it is absolutely comical to watch the reaction to a simple request of, "Can you give us a report of what you did?" Think about that. That somehow is a threat to the Constitution, to democracy, and to all that is good. What it really is not a threat to democracy, it's a threat to their bureaucracy, which has been allowed to grow exponentially through the years with no real checks or balances on it, and something that really ought to be much more of a concern to the American taxpayers and citizens than a lot of other things, because these folks are unelected, nameless, faceless, and in many ways unaccountable to the citizenry that they're supposed to serve. You know, the bureaucratic model was out of Cold War Eastern Europe, and you know what that meant. I mean, that's where all of that stuff came from, and we suffer now from many, if not all, of the pathologies that were there throughout the Cold War. And in one short month, President Donald J. Trump had more than 1,000 questions posed to him by the media. Think about that with respect to Joe Biden, who probably didn't have 1,000 posed to him during his entire presidency, and if he did, didn't answer many of them. And this is why the Trump administration is off to such a flying start. They're open, they're transparent, they're having a conversation on virtually a daily basis with the American people, and they're doing what they promised to do. What a novel concept and what a surprising political position they've taken. It's really great to see the administration not only off to a flying start, but simply doing what they promised to do. This should come as no shock to anyone. This is what they ran on. This was the mandate that they received from the American people. And so it's a really good thing. But you'll continue to hear the hue and cry from the left, including now about this deal that we're hearing about as we tape this. We're doing it a little earlier this week. I'll tell you why in a moment. But with the rare metals situation with the Ukraine, basically getting the Ukraine to help chip in for their defense. Oh my gosh, why would we do that? You know, somehow it becomes our responsibility to defend Ukraine. And this has been the problem for the United States of America over the course of the past 60 years. We've gotten involved in all sorts of situations all around the world where there was no apparent interest of the United States to defend, and we got mired into them many times, costing American lives, but always costing a lot of American treasure. And it's time for us to start really re-examining how we play, quote unquote, diplomacy around the world. And if simply, quote unquote, buying friends is what we want to do, a lot of questions to be asked there, because where that friend buying has gone is to some really, really bad places. And they get a big, beautiful bill this week. A lot of folks didn't think that could happen, and there were some conservative Republicans that didn't think that was the best way to go. But those are the kinds of conversations we want to have, i.e., what's the best way to get there, not where should we be going. We all knew where we should be going. And look what's happening in the Windy City. You know, the mayor there now has an approval rating somewhere around 6.5%. Think about that. 80+% of the people of Chicago say he's doing a lousy job. This is a city that voted overwhelmingly for the Democrat candidate over the course of the past 70 years. But even they are saying that the loony far left politics simply don't work for them. So here's again an opportunity for conservative thought, common sense to take hold in a place that many thought was, basically to be left by the wayside. But that's what the Trump administration's been talking about. Common sense. Abraham Lincoln said the problem with common sense is it's not so common, but hopefully we're bringing it back in real ways. And finally, when you listen to all the whining and howling like banshees, it's coming now from the Associated Press, who believe that they somehow have a divine right of kings. They just say, oh, it's free speech, it's free speech, it's free speech. This doesn't impinge on their free speech rights. They're asking for unlimited access to the office of the presidency, to the inner sanctum of this administration. There's no guarantee for that to anybody. And so the fact that they've had it for a long, long time needs to be re-examined if the administration wants to do that. I think it's a great idea to re-examine it. I haven't liked the AP style book for a long time, and the fact that they're not willing to even put in there the Gulf of America might seem like a little bit of, minuscule tit for tat, but they've turned totally woke, that AP style book. And so there are a lot of reasons why the AP needs to have its situation re-examined. There certainly is no right of theirs to anything in terms of access to the presidency. And finally, I am heading now to Florida for spring training. Something I always wanted to do. When I was a kid, I couldn't afford it. When I got a little bit older, I didn't have the time to do it. Now I got a couple of bucks and a little bit of time, so south I go. And if I get a Major League Baseball contract, you all will be the first to know about it. And I'll head north with the team at the end of the month. Because for now, that is the best 60-ish seconds of your week.